If you have ADHD, especially if you were late diagnosed, you have probably spent a lot of your life wondering, why am I the way that I am? Please, God, somebody tell me why I am the way I am. And you have felt like you were a failure, or you're just a shitty adult, or like you couldn't get out of your own way, which I did for many, 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 many years. And then one day you get a diagnosis and you realize, hey, I'm not the only one. And it's a very freeing feeling to know that there is a whole community of people out there dealing with the same struggles. And we're going to talk to today's guest about that feeling of community so we can share and see how powerful that can be for us. I'm Aaron.
I'm Cass.
And this is Fuck the Plan, the ADHD Project podcast. So according to his website, today's guest helps people with ADHD get their shit together. Please welcome ADHD coach, podcast host, and your big brother community advocate, Russ Jones. Russ, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on your show. I love the name of your show.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Deeply in me.
I mean, it resonates so deeply with a lot of us because we all have this experience, you know what I mean? And we don't really realize it until we start talking to other people and say, oh my God, I'm not the only one who feels like shit all the time. And I think
fuck everything.
Yeah, I mean, fuck everything too, you know? I'm sorry, Barb. You know, my mother-in-law is, you know, she doesn't necessarily love the F-bomb word, and I had to break it to her that this was the name of the podcast. And she says, you know, I'm okay with that word. I just don't say it myself. So I try and limit myself to a max of like 5 F-bombs per episode for Barbara's sake.
So we shouldn't have Samuel L. Jackson on.
I'm sure she does.
I had the same thing with, like, I had a webinar that I could do, and it's called How Adults with ADHD Can Do Shitty Things. And it's like, because that's sort of the deal, right? It's like we know how to do interesting things, but it's the important things that are shitty that we struggle with. And so I've had some people be like, I want to come, but I don't like your language. And I'm like, I get it. But it's,
I get
I'm not lying about it. It's shitty.
It is, though.
What am I going to say? Like, it's crummy. That doesn't really resonate as deeply.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like, as a famous Canadian trailer park boy once said, you know, swearing is how I express myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't swear, then I'm fucked.
Yeah.
It adds a sense of urgency.
It does. It really does.
It does. It punctuates a thing. But think about your Fuck the Plan show. Like, if it was like, hey, let's maybe not work the plan as much. That sounds
that doesn't really
vanilla and like, yeah, what are you talking about? The Fuck the Plan. Exactly what you're talking about.
That hits it right on the head. Absolutely. Yes. So, Russ, I want to hear a little bit about, you know, kind of how you got to where you are at this point. So, you're podcast host, you are an ADHD coach. Tell me a little bit about, you know, what you do and what led you here.
Well, let me hear. I'm happy to not be here, by the way, because so everybody knows I have an echo in my ear. I'm listening to myself talk to myself right now, and we're going to get through this together.
Yes, we are. Try that audio mute button on your computer there, Russ.
I'm late diagnosed. So I was diagnosed around age 40 when I was in the process of getting a divorce, and it was. I'm sure you guys have had this the resonating of like, oh my God, this explains so much from my past, and also the grief of like, oh my God, what a fucking waste of my life. And so it took, you know, welcome to depression and all that crap. But the I fell into some darkness during COVID, and you know, I'm a guy that smiles at everybody at the grocery store, and I'm that weirdo. Like, hey, how you doing? And they took away smiles from us, and they took away eye contact, and it was awful for me. So it was awful for a lot of us, right? But I did purpose work, and in my purpose, I found that I'm at my most happy and fulfilled when I'm serving somebody. And it was one of those things where you're like, you look back at your careers that you've had, all the shitty jobs you've had, and like I was a bellman at a hotel for a while, and it's a stupid job, but the thing I loved was helping people get their bags to their room and shooting the shit with them, and be like, I'm helping. You know, these are heavy, and you know what I mean. And I'm like, so there was always a sense of how am I being of service to a human being who needs some kind of help in some way. And then, you know, like ADHD is, and depression even, is such a heartbreaker. And so me getting on the other end of it, for the most part, it's not like anything is like, I've solved it. I solved the riddle of it. It's not a real thing, but I can be a guide. I can be a thought partner. I can be a big brother. And I hate the word coach. So it's like, that's kind of how I got into that. And this is my big long-winded ramble. I've got you on mute now, so I'm protecting my ears. So I don't even know when you're going to chime in.
So, maybe I'll raise my hand when it's time. Yeah, I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna put my hand up and just kind of interject because
we'll get a talking stick.
Yeah. A talking stick would be great. But this is awesome. No, I think it's really cool that you mentioned that. Being of service to other people, is something that you wanted to do because, one of the things that I've made as a goal in my life is to create good experiences for people. And that can mean so many different things. And, we've just got done maybe like a 3-episode run of telling people like, you don't have to do things just because like you think that's the right thing to do. Oh. And you need to figure out what works for you. And what works for me is framing all of the stupid bullshit, mundane things we have to do just to be adults and solve the problem of not having money as figuring out a way to create a good experience for someone. And, whether I'm at my day job or whether I'm at the grocery store smiling at somebody, that making a good experience for someone else is really kind of what drives all of that for me. And it's how I kind of rationalize and, live with myself at the end of the day, despite having to do, normal, mundane, not interesting things that people with ADHD brains kind of hate.
Yeah. And that's beautiful, man. Like just giving someone a smile is a moment. That's an experience. That's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome.
Absolutely it is. And I think, one of the things that you and I talked about a bit, and I know is important to you, Russ, is kind of the power of community and having others to come together and talk about this stuff with and say like, hey, I've had a tough time with this. And, somebody else saying, I relate, I've had a tough time with that too. And giving that experience of like, hey, you're not alone in this is like a huge part of how we can actually just get through the day to day of like living with this thing and not falling further and further into that depression.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like the isolation and there's a lot of shame that's attached with, I would even say, especially like the late diagnosers, because we've heard so much shitty stuff all our lives, and the stuff that we've said to ourselves is like probably the cruelest of them all. And so being around people who have that shared experience, like in the community that I have, it's like, you have like masterminds and people are like high level, like just suck it up, you gotta do it, we're gonna make things happen. Whoa, hardcore. And I'm like, yeah. What about those of us that are like, how do I do my fucking laundry today? Oh, sorry, I was unmuted. But like,
oh, you're good. I was just saying, nobody in the history of forever has anyone with ADHD like just done the thing.
Ever.
Like it just doesn't work like that.
Unless it was like, I'm learning how to cross stitch today. This is something I'm interested in. I will just do that, but I will just never stop doing that until the world crumbles around me,
Or you do it for like 60 seconds, realize you're not immediately an expert at it and just give up on it forever.
I have a cross-stitch kit sitting in a Beatles lunchbox at home.
Has it been opened?
Because I tried it, wasn't immediately good at it, and went, I'll pick it up later. And it's been 3 years.
That's a long time.
Man.
It's still in that lunchbox, though.
I'm going to email you guys the photo that I cross-stitched. My grandma taught me how. That's like way back when we were kids. And then I think this might have even been during the pandemic. I was like, I wonder if I could just get a photograph made. Because I don't want to be like home sweet home. I wanted to be like a photograph. I thought that might have been cool. So I did a black and white photo of my kids. And
that is cool.
Cross stitch it. And so now it's like from across the room, it looks like a photo. And then you get up close and it's just a bunch of varying forms of black and gray and white and stuff. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is really awesome. And like it kind of alludes back to what we were talking about a few episodes ago, which is that like sometimes you just have these experiences and you do something fun or you learn something, and then maybe you don't ever cross stitch again in your life. But now you've got that story to tell forever, and you've got that cross stitch photo hanging up in your house. And like, that's such a cool thing to like have that fun experience. And I don't think that things need to be your forever hobby in order to be that fun experience and give you something like, beneficial for your life.
Yeah. Or your any hobby or anything. I heard somebody online one time was saying like, maybe it was just buying all the stuff and reading all the books and watching all the YouTubes about how to do it. That was the thing. It wasn't about becoming amazing at it. It was about learning about it. I'm like, oh, that was beautiful. Because there's so many things that I'm like, I really want to go all in on. And I'm like, well, but maybe it's just the journey of learning about the tools. What do the tools feel like?
Yeah.
And sometimes these little things can generate big things.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're open to trying new things and having new experiences, you never know what's going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You could find the thing that you've been wanting to do all your life, or you could meet somebody who's really influential in your life. Like, you should never turn down a new experience. You should at least give something a try, because you never know what's going to come of it.
Do you want to try PCP real quick?
Yeah, you got.
I was going to say, bungee jumping is a no for me. I am normally like, I treat life like parents treated vegetables. We're like, just try everything twice. If you try it once, you're like, okay, maybe it was with the wrong person, or maybe it was the wrong deal. Try it a couple times.
That's funny.
And then, then you'll know.
Then make a judgment. I always say I'll try anything
it's an
twice.
acquired taste, and you'll become addicted to it.
Disclaimer: Aaron and I are not actually going to go do PCP.
No, I was just making a joke. I was just,
there's
reason.
somebody out there that's like, wait a minute.
No, I had my little run in with drugs in my teenage years, and I'm good with that now. I'm all set.
That's so funny. Get ready for your email.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy to me how like so many of us have these shared experiences where we like go through these same phases and these same things, this trial and error sort of way of life. And a lot of folks think that, okay, you've got this plan, this straight and narrow, and this this singular life path that works for everybody, quote unquote. But to be honest with you, the ADHD life to me is one defined by many different things and by bouncing between different things. And it's like we were saying in the, What I've Learned episode, like the times that I've spent like saying yes to go be part of like a film crew for a weekend have taught me things that I use now when it comes time to, be on social media. And we live in the golden age of learning now. You can literally go on YouTube and learn anything you want. My car broke the other week. I Googled how to fix it, and I fixed it myself. Within, a couple hours, I gained knowledge that it would have taken people years in the past to go find a mechanic, like all of this time to learn how to do. And we don't often take advantage of that fact. And people say, oh, well, I only know about this, or I only know about that. It's like, yeah, but learning is the important part. That's how we grow. That's how we move forward, right?
And then we circle back, though, to community, because the way I work with my ADHD, I have trouble sitting there and watching a YouTube video.
Yeah.
I need somebody there to tell me what to do, to crack jokes with me, to be like, okay, kid, you're fucking that up. Let's try it again. And I need somebody there, or else I'll get discouraged, or I'll zone out and miss something important and like fuck up my motorcycle when I'm trying to change the oil. Like, I need help. And some people's ADHD works that way.
Yeah,
totally. There's one of the biggest aspects of community too is it's not just the accountability, but like that body doubling aspect. We do that in ours, but where it's just there's a saying from a thing that I've quoted a million times, which is hills aren't as steep when you walk them with a friend. And with ADHD, we won't even start the hill half the time. Like, I have a guy that I walk with I walked with him this morning. If he wasn't walking today, I'm not walking today. I'm not showing up,
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. And it was like, the exercise part of it was a big one, because like I had tried many times for years to try and just take care of my health a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And like I am not going to get up and go to the gym just because, like there's got to be something. And it wasn't until my wife and I started doing it together and going a few days a week and keeping each other accountable that I was actually able to like have a reason behind it. Like, well, if I don't want to let her down and she doesn't want to let me down, and we both just kind of close our eyes and pretend that the other person is not looking for a way to not go, then we can both just kind of put our heads together and go, you know? And it's like,
dude,
we'll keep each other on that track.
Totally. I think the most global overarching, if like, what is the big fix-a-rooney for ADHD managing life? It's externalizing. Like, if there's ever an issue, I'm like, what am I trying to hold inside? Am I trying to keep my planning of my day in my head? It's not gonna fucking work. Am I trying to hold myself accountable? It's not gonna fucking work. Am I trying to like keep time in my head, you know, and be like, oh, I'll be done in 15 minutes or not? Like, how can we get stuff out of our head where we can see it? That to me is this global, and then like, what's our way of doing that, you know, individually?
Yeah. Totally with you on that one. And it's like getting those things from the swirling like ether that happens in our brains and like putting them into something concrete is so beneficial in a lot of ways. And like, you know, I used to have a lot of trouble with household chores and things like that, like many of us do with ADHD, just because of the energy that it takes to
have you mastered
on a house.
It?
I wouldn't say mastered.
You just said
I wouldn't say mastered, but I would say I'm a lot better at
I need to talk to you.
Because like, if you know, it's just my wife and I and our cat in the house. So if I walk by a piece of trash on the ground, you know, not only do I know I probably put it there, first of all, but you know, when you're growing up, you live in, you know, a house with a few people, you just figure, oh, somebody else will do it. But now I know if I look at that napkin on the ground and I say, well, someone else will do it. Well, who else would do it? Oh, well, my wife would have to do it. So do I want to put that burden on her? No, because she shouldn't have to. So I'm just going to do it. And like, that's my way of sort of walking into my own accountability with things, where it's like, I know if I don't do this, what are the external real world consequences? Like, if I don't do the dishes, then I'm going to have to do them at some point, whether it's now or later. And will that mess me up later? Yes. Will it mess me up if I just stop and do it now? No. So like, let's do it, you know, and knowing that there are consequences in the real world for these things that I do or don't do. And like defining those things really helps me like put a face to the problem, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit in the pets episode as well, because I think having a person or living thing in your sphere that you don't want to let down can solve a lot of this, because it's like, we won't do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't want to go on a long walk in the rain, but my little golden doodle has that face, and I'm like, let's go. And you do it, and she's happier, which makes me happier. And then I wasn't sitting around the house all day because it was raining.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's the whole, like, that's that external, you're not relying on yourself necessarily, which is,
I think we're all like taught so much that we have to rely on ourselves.
Right? That's the normie world. Suck it up.
Yeah.
You should just do it. You can do these things. I've seen you do these things before. Nobody gets situational variability. They're like, no, I've seen you empty the dishes. So empty the dishes. You must be lazy. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's,
you know, if we were being lazy, we would be having fun. But we're not, you know, we're not having fun. We're arguing with ourselves and saying, why can't I just get up and do the damn thing? You know, it's because our brains are wired differently. And, you know, it comes back to something that I've said a million times, is that we're not a broken neurotypical who needs to fix ourselves to be more like that. We just need to learn how our brains work and figure out a system to work within that environment. I've said that on probably every single episode that we've had, but it's so true that if you are going about the problem the wrong way, you're never going to fix it. And that's why seeing how other people have done it, and just this conversation among the three of us who all have ADHD and all have had the same experience, and realizing like, hey, we've all been down a similar train of thought with this. Like, it gives me so much validation to know that like there are other people dealing with this in the same way that I am and who have stumbled into the same results. So there must be something to it. And then that lets me just kind of lean into it a little more, you know?
Yeah.
I think as humans, even neurotypical or not, we all have a lot more in common than we think.
Mm-hmm.
Like even two people whose brains could not be more differently wired. There is common ground that if we were just unafraid to actually speak about real things,
yes,
we could find. And
Yeah.
that's the whole value of community. If we could just shed the stigma of talking about, not the weather and sports, then
Yes!
I
Oh
think
my God,
we'd
yes.
find community so easily.
Yeah. There's, here's the thing that has been recent to me is like, it is normal psychologically to compare ourselves to other people. That's a normal, everybody does it because we're like, how am I fitting into society? But now we're comparing ourselves to normies and masking neurotypicals or neuroatypicals. So it's like our own people, but they're trying to be different. And we're like, who are we? And letting go of that and finding your tribe of people like that, like we're talking about community, right? Finding people who are all like, hey, we struggle with this stuff. Yeah, we struggle. Okay, now I can just peel all my onion and I can tell you all of my sadness, all of my joy, all of my hopes. And none of it is weird. None of it is like, you can't do your laundry, you fucking loser. No, it's I can't do my laundry week in the community. You know what I mean? And like, let's all help each other. Like that kind of stuff.
That's great. And it's like, it's kind of in a way like even better than a therapist in some ways. Because Cass and I had talked, months ago about how, a lot of people will go out and they'll pay money and hire a therapist, and then they will bullshit the therapist. It's like you're spending money to lie to someone. You could just do that to your friends. Like, you don't have to hire a therapist for that. Like, if you're going to go through that,
they
then
just want somebody
open up.
with a degree to tell them that they're right, so they have to spin the narrative.
Right. But like, if you come to me, I'm not just going to tell you that you're right. Like, I'm going to say, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Actually, I love when like people ask you like, does that make sense? And I just go, no, not really.
0%.
Like you just got that blank look on your face.
I think that's so funny. How many ADHD coaches I've had and therapists I've had where you really do get a lot out of those sessions. They're great. And then like right when you walk out the door, it's like, it's gone. And then you ramble the night before. Oh God, the homework. What can I say I did? What can I put together really quick?
Fucking high school all over again.
Yeah, I gotta cringe. I gotta read an entire book. Oh shit.
Yeah.
You have a nightmare about showing up to therapy in your underwear. Like, it's a whole thing.
Oh my God.
Dude, it's work from home city now. I actually do show up to therapy in my underwear.
But you know what?
You don't know what I've got going on below my waist. So that's the world.
Nobody stand up. Nobody stand up on this podcast right now.
Unless you donate to the Patreon.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
If you go to our OnlyFans page, our group OnlyFans.
Yes.
No.
That's going to be fantastic.
Clean it up.
Yeah. So Cass and I, for the Fuck the Plan, the ADHD Project podcast, are launching a Patreon. So we were just talking about this today, and this is going to be our 2 minutes of shameless plug, and then we'll give Russ a chance for himself as well. But I'm not exactly sure if it will be launched by the time this episode comes out, but keep an eye on the podcast pages on the ADHDproject.com as well as our social media. We're going to get some more details out there, but we're going to think of some ways that we can help engage and interact with our listeners and our community, sort of in honor of Russ's community that he's bringing on the show to share. We wanted to create an additional sort of community for ourselves to share things like, exclusive episodes that we're going to create. We're going to do some like freebie promos if you hit certain tiers for like t-shirts or planners. And we're also going to be on some of the top tiers offering like one-on-one chats over video call with Cass or myself. So keep an eye out for the Patreon. That will be coming shortly. And in the meantime, I did want to hear a little bit about your community that you have going on, Russ, because it's something that you mentioned to us. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what it is, how people join and kind of what goes on within the community.
Yeah, sure. First of all, everyone should donate to your Patreon. And you guys are doing good work. So what are you people waiting for? Okay, click to like and subscribe, and the links are going to be in the show notes.
Yes. We got to hire Russ for a weekly appearance now.
I like that.
Wait, what was that for the YouTube channel? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, crush it, and then, you'll be notified when new episodes come out.
I like that. I'm going to use that clip, Russ.
Yeah.
That's like those, like when you listen to the radio Hi, my name is Russ Jones, and you're listening to Fuck the Plan.
I love it. I went to school for radio for a little while. That was fun, and that served me well.
I was going to say, it translates.
But we're getting sidetracked again, so I do actually want to hear about Russ's community and what's going on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually modeled after a quit group. I was addicted to nicotine for about 20 years. Kicked it.
Same.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's the hardest thing ever. But
Tough.
One of the things, and this is pre-diagnosis, so I didn't know I had ADHD, but community helped me. And it was a quick group where we showed up every day. It's like an old school V-Bolton forum, basically. And it was, you'd show up, you'd say, day one, no matter what, I'm not chewing tobacco today. And then you would spend the whole day in the forum complaining about life and why everything sucks and why everyone hates me. And because, you're going through withdrawals. But you knew that other people were going through a like experience. So there was ease to that. Now cut a decade later or whatever, and I'm like, there's so many communities out there, and I love them all, and I love everything about community. But a lot of them are all about the group hug dynamic. We all relate to each other. And I was like, but I want to do stuff. I want to get started on things. And so in my coaching training and all the people that I'm helping, I'm realizing that this daily accountability structure is what I believe we need. A lot of people want to still spoon feed that we should be able to do shit on our own. I believe that too. But I think that we struggle, then we don't struggle. Then we struggle, then we don't struggle. And when we're struggling, let's lean into the tools. And the tools are accountability. So I created this community based on the doing. It's let's get our shit together. And the group hub, the relatability and the emotional support, it's intrinsic with people with ADHD. I'm sure it's with a lot of people, but I can't tell you how much people in our tribe empathize with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, empathy, I think, is one of the biggest strengths of ADHD. We've talked about that where, we all had this collective experience of, your entire childhood, especially if you were late diagnosed, feeling like you weren't enough, or you weren't good enough. And so having that group hug of hey, we're all in this together is great. But then, like you said, Russ, well, all right, where do we go from here? It's nice that we're all feeling a little bit better. But, what are, what's an example of some of the things, say it's doing the dishes, I have a system now, but say somebody's having trouble with that. What might you see them talking about in the community to help each other through that?
That stuff is the way it's structured. And maybe this will answer it. The way it's structured is we do daily accountability. What is the one thing that you want to get done today, no matter what? And we gamify it. So we have day streaks and we earn badges and we make it fun. We have
I love that.
Monthly goal setting where we'll get on a Zoom call and we'll talk about what we want to get done in the month. Then we'll meet mid-month and be like, remember we had goals? Remember what those were? And we remind ourselves. And because it's we are going to forget. We plan 1-year goals and then we just kind of remind ourselves of what we're working on. It's most people are set it and forget it. And it's like a crock pot of and then just be motivated. Just remember your goals all the time. Just remember what you said you were going to do. That's not a real thing for us. So
not even just for us. I mean, if you take a look at a gym in January and then a gym in February.
Oh my Lord.
1,000%. Yes.
Everybody struggles with it, but we have it worse.
Oh, yeah.
We also have the I can't get started component and I'm paralyzed. I'm overwhelmed by the idea of it. And so having the feedback that I'm getting in the community is that it's the shame-free aspect of it. People are getting help with basic stuff, which is, it's so hard. I know I beat up laundry because it's just one of my personal hells, but that's a mountain. And
yeah, I mean, it sucks.
It's a sucky
then you have
mountain.
to put it away.
Sucks is to the pain. It is when things are a level of what Dante's Inferno, it's a level of hell. And you think to yourself, because you're time blind, this is an eternity. This is my life now. I'm guy doing laundry. forever, it's so depressing. And it's so
forever.
like, well, maybe I can just turn my underwear inside out today. I don't fucking know. You know, maybe I can just wear this shirt again. It's most people are like, well, no, like we need to get started, you know, pumping that weight and, you know, starting a new business and high level, like achieving. And then we're like, but I need help sweeping. Like, yeah, it's the same level. So if everybody can do all of it, but if we need the help to get started, let's make it easy. And community is huge for that. I just can't.
Yeah. And it's additive, right? It builds on each other because you can never have a clean house if you don't sweep the floor. Like if you don't start with the most basic levels of things, you can't get to that big goal. And it's, you know, like one of the things that people always say is, you know, one of the answers to ADHD things is like, oh, well, just break things down into smaller steps. It's like, okay, but you know, I've got a framework and, you know, in my planner, I have a way of doing that for myself. But then how do you actually get those foundational basic skills? Like if you spent your entire, you know, like I'm 33, if I've spent, you know, since I was old enough, maybe 26 years of my 33 years not doing dishes or trying to find a way of not doing it and avoiding it, how in God's name could I ever learn how to do that without some sort of shame-free, guilt-free assistance with that? And I have to give so much thanks to my wife for this, who doesn't even realize, but like, you know, she has been very good at a lot of those things in her life. And the way that she does things really teaches me how to do those things. And she's got a system for like, you know, certain days of the week, she cleans the bathroom or she does that. And, you know, for me, maybe certain days of the week doesn't always work. But if I can say, all right, every evening after work, before I slip into sitting on the couch mode, I must do one productive thing. You know, I must clear the dishes or I must do that. You know, having some sort of structure and routine. We have to be the architects of that structure. Otherwise, we'll reject it. But we have to have some sort of system. And like, who helps people set that up? Like,
I love
it's
that.
silly. Like, you wouldn't ask your therapist, you know, what's a good system for doing dishes? But like, I mean, you might. Cass might. But you know, you might have people out there that you can.
That component to it is like a challenge. I like thinking about those things in terms of challenges, and I also will do day streaks. Some kind of. I'm always looking at how to gamify things. But the idea of you front load your productivity. I know it's like Atomic Habits, that habit stacking kind of deal of like.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you're gonna brush your teeth, you're in the bathroom. Okay, so I'll wipe down the toilet. Or something, or there's some kind of a thing you add.
That's how my morning routine is structured, really. And it's so funny. That first thing really does trigger the rest of them. So like I wanted to establish a bit of a morning routine where I could read, where I could do like 5 minutes of meditating and just like spend some time getting my brain to where it needs to be in order to be productive, rather than just trying to like open my eyes and jump in the car and drive to work or whatever people try and do. So the very first thing I do is something that I don't often feel like doing, which is just getting in the shower. And like, to me, you know, getting in the shower is something that a lot of folks with ADHD struggle with doing on a consistent basis because it's like a time thing. You got to stop your routine, your day. But like, if I get up and I do that first thing, the very next thing I do is I go downstairs, I make sure the cat eats, and then I read for 5 minutes, and then I do my 5 minutes of meditating. But it all starts with that one shower. And it helps me because that train of thought like just starts going as soon as you open your eyes in the morning. And like it keeps me out of that like anxiety mode. If I say just worry about getting in the shower, dude, just open your eyes and all you got to pay attention to is getting into the shower. And then as I'm in the shower, I start waking up. I'm like, all right, next thing. By now I remember the very next thing I like to do is to read for 5 minutes. So throw some clothes on, go down and just worry about reading. And it's remarkable how those little things do actually kind of cascade or like waterfall into some type of real routine for you if you can establish it properly. And gamifying it, like Russ said, is one of the best ways I do that. I have a little habit tracker pretty much straight out of the Atomic Habits playbook there. And every day I mark off a little check next to my shower, next to my reading, next to my meditating.
Right on.
And like, you know, is every single day checked off completely? Absolutely fucking not. But like, you know, 5 days out of the week, I get at least 80% of it done. And to me, that's good enough. You know, that's much, much better than doing absolutely zero.
Yeah,
you know?
than doing zero. Exactly. Totally. I'm still stuck on what I said that you would habit stack cleaning a toilet and brushing your teeth. I think that's gross. And I don't.
Well, I think
Well,
as long
not
as you,
at the same time.
Yeah,
brush
that's
first
how I
and then-
visualized it, and I don't condone that. So I'd want to redact that. I'm so sorry, you guys.
well, I think it's all about the order, Russ, because
And
I
brush
often,
and then.
Yeah.
brush and then toilet.
I
Because you
just
know what's
picture
really funny
wiping
is
down the toilet and then grabbing a toothbrush.
Oh
Yeah.
God, but what if you like clean the toilet with a toothbrush and you pick the wrong one?
Yeah,
well,
see, there's
just
so many
don't do
ways.
that.
This
That's
can
one
go
of the
south,
times.
and so
Yeah,
that's why I
this-
think it was a bad example.
That's one of the times where you have to just not do it.
Be effective.
It's funny though that you mentioned this because in the evenings I brush my teeth and then I scoop out the litter box, and I want to make sure that I do those in the correct order for sure. You know,
Yeah.
you got to brush your teeth, and then you go to the bathroom, and then you like the amount of time I spend thinking about what order to do 2 or 3 things in
Oh my
is
God,
like
yeah.
probably takes up like 60% of my mental energy for each hour.
Do you think that
Sometimes
this
I
is a
go into
normie
these
thing? Do you think normies will do that? Like that deliberate over the order of things to this level? I don't think so. This
Not
No.
to this
so unique and what makes us beautiful.
Yeah.
We're always iterating and ideating and figuring and planning, and I think it's cool.
It's so funny that you say that because like just the other day, I was at the beach with my wife and I was saying like, when I'm here, I just try not to think about anything and like getting a break from figuring. Like I feel like every minute of my day, I'm figuring something out. I'm trying to think about how to do something, what order, like this, and just so much logistical time thinking about doing things
Yeah.
that when I need to relax, I don't need a break from physically doing things. I need a break from thinking about things. And that's another reason why I like to go to the gym too, is because after the first 2 minutes of being on that stupid rowing machine, I cannot think about anything else other than how much I do not want to fucking be doing this anymore. And that takes me away from that, like having to iterate and figure out like mindset, and actually gives me a tiny bit of solace in this fucking ridiculous, chaotic world that is my brain.
Yeah, if your body's busy enough, your mind kind of just shuts the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can think about nothing about except for how much I hate it when I'm doing it. And to me, that's an acceptable alternative.
Yeah. I love that being in nature is where my brain slows down.
Oh, yeah.
I get
To
that.
start marveling about nature. I think that's why it's such a good, I mean, for me it is. Like, that's my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
know
with
if
it.
you've ever been to like the Southwest, but when I was on one of my a couple of my road trips, I've gone Southwest.
I live in Los
Yes.
Angeles.
I'm talking about like the desert, like the real
Arizona?
desert, like Arizona, New Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Those are the perfect places
Yeah.
for that. And it actually brought me peace just knowing that it was possible for me to feel that peace.
Oh, wow.
Like when I was out in Monument Valley or Sedona, things like that. Like you just see how different the world can be, even in the same country. And you're like, you just feel like the possibilities for everything, including yourself, are endless when you go to a landscape like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, okay, so Sedona is magical. I do on that. The Grand Canyon and like the redwoods, like the things that are
the
so
redwoods,
big, right? So the when things are so big that they're impossible to take in, that is awesome because your brain is like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to process this magnitude. So let's just live in it. Oh,
let's experience it.
We're getting a little bit.
I felt that way at the
here,
Grand
but like,
Canyon.
that's big time. I love that.
Yeah, I felt that way at the Grand Canyon a lot. And then recently, within the last, 5 years or so, we've gone twice to the Olympic National Park in Washington.
Oh, I love that one.
Oh,
it's
man.
And so
I grew up
we're in the Northeast up here, so everything's all packed together and very tightly, dense. But when you go out there and you start realizing how vast everything is, and you look out and it's a carpet of trees for hundreds of miles.
It's a literal rainforest.
Yeah.
We have a rainforest in the U.S., and most people don't realize.
Yeah,
that.
and it's so insane. Like you feel like that's, it's like the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. You're just a speck of stardust, and you're part of the whole universe, and everything's connected. And like for once, you go out and you find some little hidden place, and you feel like this is just your little spot in the world, and like it connects you to that. And like those times when we can externalize, to use Russ's point, and get out of our own brains and see ourselves as a part of this big, huge, vast world that we live in, it helps kind of ease some of that anxiety that I think is sort of inherent in a lot of us with ADHD, that like drive to move and go, and like that anxiety to be productive. It kind of quells some of that because you realize you're like, wow, this this is so much bigger than me and everything else that I've ever experienced.
I think we hyper focus so much on these little problems, and we hyper focus on a lot of things, but it's just kind of like that's the only thing that exists is these dishes in this goddamn sink.
Oh my God, I know.
And then you just see how big everything is. Our worlds, our personal everyday worlds are so small. When you live in Rhode Island, it's literally very small.
Yeah.
And you just see how much bigger things are. And you're like, you know what? Those fucking dishes are the least of my concerns.
Absolutely. That's why I don't do dishes on vacation, because what else am I taking a vacation from? This is literally like a tenet of mine is I very much try not to do dishes at all when I'm on vacation, because that's what I'm taking
I'm like, and your wife
from.
loves you for that. She's like, what the fuck is going on in the kitchen this week? What the fuck?
It's so funny because like I cook as well. I have cooked for most of my life, and so we don't really have the traditional roles in our house. I do almost all of the cooking because I like to, and I also make most of the kitchen mess. So therefore, I handle the kitchen. And my wife, she's like, you know what? If you take care of that, I'm happy to do the rest of the house. And we don't have a huge house, but like, I'll finish the kitchen and then I actually take it upon myself to go and I'll wipe down the table for her, or I'll straighten up, or I'll do laundry. And it's so funny to me how when I'm not required to do laundry, I'm happy to get up and go do it to help my wife out because it's for a different reason. It's not because the chore gremlin is bearing down on me and I have to do it, you know?
It's a noble quest for love.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yes. She's the reason that I am able to be who I am and do what I do today. So, you know, why would I not want to do whatever I could to make her life easier, you know?
Aww.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Maybe just one round of dishes when you're on vacation. Maybe just one.
No, I do. I joke about that, but like we stayed in a cabin and where we were cooking ourselves, and I did do the dishes then. But we'll just do takeout for most of the time if we have to.
I think most people do that on vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we are running pretty close on time wise. So I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity here for you, Russ. If there was anything else that you wanted to say, you know, about your community, your practice, your podcast, your anything that you'd like to share, this is your time for your shameless self promotion, which we heartily welcome.
Come on down to the ADHD Big Brother podcast. It's one of the greatest podcasts out there. No, it's my podcast is ADHD Big Brother. It's, by the way, you know what I found out? It's nominated Best Male Host.
Oh, that's fantastic.
2024 Podcasters People's Choice Awards. I don't really know.
And here you are on our show. Look at this on Little Old Our Show. We've got the number one male podcast host in
so that was
all of
that
the
was
country.
Really exciting. But the
that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really cool. And so but the biggest thing that I want to promote is community. And I know like I have a community and it's a paid community, but in general, I cannot shout from the rooftops enough how important a community is for people with ADHD. A shame-free, judgment-free community. Sometimes this means it's outside of your spouse. Sometimes it means it's outside of your family circle. You know, the people that are the normies. It's finding your ADHD tribe. And so I love people are more than welcome to come to mine. And I'll give you guys links
perfect
to the thing. And then I would invite people to that webinar. I just kind of created a setup for it with how adults can do shitty things with ADHD. And it's kind of an educational on the difference between interest and importance wired brains. And then it goes into, if there is no interest, what can we do? And that is the thing that I am just trying to share as much as I can. Like there are tools and strategies that we can use. And then we need the community aspect to get those tools and strategies to sink in, to be used. So I'll give you the links. It's ADHDBigBrother.com is the website. But yeah.
It's awesome.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Rush. We really appreciate it. Very happy to have you on. Russ Jones, everybody. Thank you very much. I am Aaron.
I'm Cass.
And this has been Fuck the Plan, the ADHD Project podcast. Take care.